The following is a list of Moors who have been kidnapped and are being held for a demand of income. The demand of income is being made against the family as well as through fraudulent submissions of documents alleging that they are caring for the people in some sort of long-term care fashion. These Moors have been kidnapped literally off the street by employees of various corporations that are guised as counties, cities, towns, township, boroughs. These names that we have all been mentally conditioned to believe are government are not. They are exactly what they say they are. They are municipal corporations, and as such, they, if you do the research, you will find that they are foreign corporations on American soil. Therefore, they do not have standing nor jurisdiction to make a demand of income or even bring a claim against the Aboriginal indigenous people or any people on American soil, this making their actions criminal. However, as Moors, we must bring these crimes to the forefront via civil complaints against these unalienable constitutional treaty-secured rights of the people, Aboriginal indigenous Moors of this land. If the municipal corporation has been provided, then we reference that along with the union state. If we don't have the municipal corporation where the employee works that actually did the kidnapping, then we just reference the union state that is bound and obligated to protect the people from foreign and domestic invasion. This list comprises Moors who have been kidnapped and are being held hostage by employees of various corporations on American soil, which is a violation of the American Constitution 1791, and it is a treaty violation, being that we are talking about Moorish Americans, Aboriginal indigenous to this land, who have been kidnapped by employees of foreign corporation on American soil. This making this an international issue because you have two nations with one nation warring against another. Therefore, this is an international issue. If you have a family member near or far within your immediate family or one of the family that you know and you would like them added to this list, please send an email to mhhseyeswideopen@gmail.com. In the subject line, put Kidnap Moor, and please provide us with their free national appellation, the municipal corporation that the employee is operating through that kidnapped them, along with the union state that this corporation is in purview to. So with that, we start out with our sister RVBey, kidnapped through a joint venture between Mantis Corporation and Shelby Corporation under the purview of Tennessee, Daoud Il under the purview of Arkansas, Amir Moslemin Il Kusu Ra Kushbey under the purview of Missouri, Asar Patah Amin Ra Bey under the purview of Ohio, Jeremy Paler Il, Terry Thorne Bey, J. Mikhail Brooks Bey, Joseph Kanaday Il, Kush Amir Bunch Il, Emmanuel Billings Bey, Yassin Khalik Alamin Il, Michael Curry Bey, all under the purview of North Carolina, Noble Crisco Il under the purview of New Jersey, Messiah Aziz Il and Crystal Il, both kidnapped through a joint venture between Mercer Corporation, Freehold Corporation, and Trenton Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. We're still waiting on an update regarding baby Patricia Bey, kidnapped by Atlantic Corporation under the purview of New Jersey, Eldridge Terran Fisher Il, Marquis Sevion Il under the purview of Indiana, Solomon Il Bey, and Mumi Abubey under the purview of Texas, William Barrett Ill under the purview of Virginia, Bomani Abidwil Ill, kidnapped by Chesapeake Corporation under the purview of Virginia, RVBey under the purview of West Virginia, Thomas Lee Bey under the purview of California, Victor Eduardo Aguaye Juarez Ill, kidnapped by Harlem Corporation under the purview of Georgia, Natro Tahuti Ill, kidnapped by Benner Corporation under the purview of Pennsylvania, Rennie Bay, kidnapped by Hamilton Corporation under the purview of, Hamilton, Ontario Corporation under the purview, well, actually, it's Hamilton Corporation. The state would be Ontario, and that's that would be a union state, and it's on American soil that is referenced as Canada. And last but not least, Brian George Mills Bay, kidnapped by the employees working through Glades Corporation under the purview of Florida. Thank you very much. All right, Islam, and welcome to MHHS, Eyes Wide Open. This is your host, Anna E. L., along with tonight's host, Cujo Adwa L.
Islam, peace and love.
Peace and love. It is just the two of us tonight because RVBey and Mizraim Aleph Il, they are traveling, and so they're not going to be joining. I don't think they'll be joining us tonight, but you never know. Things happen. So it's just
never know.
Yeah. It's Cujo and I tonight. So, let's see. Before we get started, I just want to let everyone know the chat room is open. Big shout out to family listening near the corporation known as Great Britain, family listening near the corporation known as South Africa, Japan, the Netherlands, Islam, Brother Albasat. Let's see, family listening near the Philippines, or I should say the corporate construct known as the Philippines. Let's see, got family listening near Mexico, Cuba, Venezuela, Brazil. Can't leave out the family listening near Barbados, Puerto Rico, the corporation known as Trinidad, Tobago, Jamaica, I think that's Panama, Islam to the wolves out there near Panama, and let's see, did I put anywhere else? Let me think. Well, and two family that we have yet to connect with, Islam, and thank you so much for joining us or listening. Big shout out to our callers for filling up the phone lines before the show even begins. Thank you so much for joining us, sharing, building, providing information, as well as what else? Building what else? Together as a family and learn and gain information and share information. So thank you so much for that. So without further ado, let's get in.
One more thing. Canaan Land Moors, Correcting Black History Month series, February 4th at the House of Consciousness near Norfolk, Virginia. February 4th, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m., Nationality, Birthrights, Health, Wealth, and I'm going to be speaking there with Moorish Divine and National Movement, Moorish Science Temple of America, Temple number 9, also with Brother Kenneth L., Sister Lakima Bey, and we are going to be demonstrating Moorish unity. So if you're near or close or able to make it, February 4th, 2017, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m., House of Consciousness, 633rd West 35th Street. Contact information, you can contact House of Consciousness 757-314-1943, 757-314-1943. Islam.
All righty. All right. So let's see. Without further ado, let's jump into our broadcast. It's looking like our queue is working this week, I'm so happy to say. Missed hearing from everyone last week. So let's see. Today's broadcast is entitled, What Exactly is a Republican and Democratic Party? There is no mention of either in the American Constitution 1791. When I say there's no mention of either, there is no mention of any Republican Party or any Democratic Party in the American Constitution. In fact, Article 4, Section 4 of the American Constitution 1791 states, quote, United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government and shall protect each of them against invasion and against domestic invasion. Now, I went into the Black's Law 4th edition dictionary and to get the definition of Republican. And on page 1467, I found the definition of republic and republican government. So I want to read that. The definition of republic is a commonwealth, that form of government in which the administration of affairs is open to all the citizens. In another sense, it signifies dependently of its form of government. And then the definition for republican government reads, a government in the republic form, a government of the people, a government by representatives chosen by the people. Now, I was talking with Roz earlier to let her know that, that's what we were going to be talking about. And she mentioned on the open readings page, there is some information, and there's actually a link, I believe it's called Republic versus Democrat. And in there, it has information which comes directly out of the Soldiers Training Manual, TM 2000, from the United States War Department, November 30th, 1928. And it gives you the definition of public. The definition out of this manual for democracy reads, a government of the masses, authority derived through mass meetings or any other form of direct expression, results in mobocracy. Attitude toward property is communistic, negating property rights. Attitude towards law is that the will of the majority shall regulate, whether it be based upon deliberation or governed by passion, prejudice, and impulse, without restraint or regard to consequences, results in demagogism, license, agitation, discontent, anarchy. Now, before I read the definition of republic, also included here out of the Oxford Universal Dictionary 1933 is the definition of mobocracy, which reads government by a mob, the mob as a ruling body. I didn't have a chance really to read this before we started, or else I would have looked up the definition of demagogism. That's D-E-M-A-G. Huh?
Demagogism. The art and practice of gaining power and popularity by arousing the emotions, passions, and prejudices of other people. All demagoguery. D-E-M-A-G-O-G-U-E-R-Y.
Right. All right. Wonderful. All right. So, I'm going to read the definition of republic out of this soldier's training manual, and it reads, authority is derived through the election by the people of public officials best fitted to represent them. Attitude towards property is respect for laws and individual rights and a sensible economic procedure. Attitude towards law is the administration of justice in accord with fixed principles and established evidence, with strict regard to consequences. A greater number of citizens and extent of territory may be brought within its compass, avoids the dangerous extreme of either tyranny or mobocracy, results in statesmanship, liberty, reason, justice, contentment, and progress. Now, I had another definition that was sent to me of democracy, and I should have, here it is. Now, this is from the Webster's Collegiate Dictionary, 11th edition, page 131, and it reads, democracy is defined as the absence of hereditary or arbitrary class distinctions or privileges. Now, what this lets you know when you read this information is if anybody is actually running around professing to be a Democrat or a Republican, this is what I gather. If you're alleging to be a Democrat, you're all about democracy. If you're alleging to be a Republican, you ought to be all about the republic. But from what I have seen, people who run around and call themselves a Democrat or even a Republican, they do not represent, when it comes to the definition of republic, neither of the people running around alleging to be a Republican or a Democrat embody the definition of they neither of them embody the principles of a republic. I'm going to say that again. Whether you're running around claiming to be a Democrat or a Republican, neither embody the principles that are found in the definition of a republic. Both parties embody wholeheartedly what is embodied in the definition of a democracy, All right? So now, basically, when you read this definition of a democracy, it's telling you that the principles of a democracy is if there are 100 people, 5 of the 100 people don't want something to happen, and 75 of the 100 people do want something to happen, the 75 people are going to win. It doesn't matter if what they are looking to happen is good or bad or indifferent. For example, this happened on this land. Much of the homes of the Moors today are inhabited by foreigners. The reason the foreigners were able to inhabit the homes of the Moors is because of this foreign unconstitutional activity called a democracy. Because they got a certain amount of people. For example, if there's one or two Moors in an area and there's 20 foreigners, and they have embodied the principles of the democracy, and they want the home of the Moor, the 20 foreigners are going to win and take over the home of the Moor. What does that mean today? If you're traveling on the land, because democracy is in action every day, if you're traveling on the land, and you have a constitutionally secured right to do so, 2 or more employees of the various corporations may come upon you, and they will make a judicial, or I should say a democratic decision, because they outnumber you, to violate your liberty. That and without any due process of law. This is what is happening, and this is what happens under a democracy. But if a democracy is going on, then it is evident, prima facie evident, treason, because the Constitution guarantees a republican form of government on this land. There is no room on this American soil, and there is nothing in this American government that authorizes a democracy or a democratic anything. Now, if somebody feels that there is some authorizing of that, show me where that is in the American Constitution. Now, you have to understand, when we talk about the American Constitution of 1791, the organic Constitution, the lawful Constitution, that is your 7 Articles, 10 Bill of Rights. Now, 11, 12, and the original 13 Amendment Bill of Rights, they came in under 1861, but they all support what's already been emphasized in the 7 Articles and the 10 Bill of Rights. So I just wanted to talk about that, or open up talking about that, because you have a lot of people that are running around and you hear it all the time. Oh, I'm a Republican. Oh, I'm a Democrat. It doesn't matter what they're calling themselves. What they are is based on their actions. So when they use these terms, that's just to cloud the people's minds, because people, we tend to, in our own personal lives, we say things that our actions do not support. We have to get into the habit of looking at, rather than
really paying attention to words when it comes to, what people are saying they are, because your actions is the truth. Your words might be what you want to aspire to, but your actions is where you are today. so we gotta open our eyes, and we have to pay attention, because it's right in front of us. We have to pay attention, and we have to, be slow to talk and do more listening and observing. We got 2 eyes and 2 ears for a reason, and 1 mouth. That says to me, we need to look at things more, listen to things more, and talk less. I think a lot will be made clear to us. Islam?
Islam. Well, let's put this in there as well, with regard to mobocracy. When we go to Oxford, Oxford has an interesting definition, and then the example that they give for their definition. So Oxford says rule or domination by the masses. So it would appear, that they're talking Republican form of government. But the example that they use is the court will never permit mobocracy to overwhelm the law of the land. The court will never permit mobocracy to overwhelm the law of the land. And then when we go to Webster's from mobocracy says rule by the mob. The mob as the ruling class. And they have 2 terms in here, one called mobocrat and one called mobocratic. So, just like you're saying, with us having it right in front of our face, we could clearly take democratic out now. We don't have to say democratic anymore. Now we can say mobocrats, to stress the point, and mobocratic when referring to these individuals that are playing this role of the 2-party system stuff that they're confusing people with, and then bringing in these terms and bringing in elephants and donkeys and stuff like that to try to make people, think that something legit's going on and have, blue and red and stars and all that stuff. No, just call them mobocrats and leave it at that. And as soon as people know who the mob is, if you're confused about who the mob is, look up mob. So as soon as they start making their claims of violating your rights and we don't want to see, we don't care about that nationality card, that wasn't government issued and all that stuff, and they're making reference to these quote-unquote parties that they belong to, immediately refer to them as mobocrats. All of them. There's not no 2 parties, one party of the mob that infiltrated, took over, governments, not just here, but all across the world. They're doing this thing of implementing this idea of mobocracy is really what the form of government is for the people, when really that form of government, mobocracy, is really there to take from the people everything that they have, including their life in most cases. And also too, remember with the U.S. Army Training Manual definition, a lot of that sounds like the conditions so-called Negro, Black, colored people are facing when they're dealing with these people who are the mob that they assume are government. When they were talking about majority shall regulate, whether it's based upon deliberation or governed by passion, prejudice, and impulse. All these people out here marching after the fact, that's impulsive reactions, right? And then without restraint or regard to consequences. So these people know that once individuals enter their jurisdiction, there's no consequence for them, because they're going to do whatever they want, because it's a mobocracy. Attitude toward property is communistic, negating property rights. Attitude toward law is the will of the majority being the mob, not the people who are thinking that they have some type of power because 300,000 of them marched on Washington for something. Right? That's not the majority. It appears that way. And also, too, keep in mind, just side note, with this so-called women rights marching BS that's going on right now all over the world, keep in mind all that is daughters of the American Revolution. All that is Margaret Sanger and the whole crew, Planned Parenthood and all that stuff, revised for the dumb people in 2017 who have no faculties left in their mind. They are strictly going on, same thing that the democracy definition is saying, they're strictly going on impulse. They're strictly governed by passion and prejudice. They're not governing themselves, they're being governed by others. And again, their mistake is thinking that the others are part of some two-party system they voted, and who they voted for is whatever came in, and then now they're mad. Well, if you voted, why are you mad? Why are you marching if you voted? And then if you voted and the individual who you voted for didn't win, because your vote doesn't count, because really it's only the so-called electoral or whatever vote that counts, right? Again, they're letting you know that it's a mob that's running things right now.
That's right.
I yield the floor, Islam.
Yes, that is absolutely correct. And you know what? They in this mobocracy that they have, that they're operating under, I think we mentioned this, but when they had the poll, which their poll vote wasn't an actual vote, but and I said it when they had the electoral vote, because in their poll vote, it appears as though Trump won in their poll vote, which the people get to participate in this poll vote, which doesn't select the president, but they let you know this time that they had already selected what's his name, Trump. They had already selected Trump because they announced him as the winner. And then when they had the actual electoral vote, wonder of wonders, the person that was selected was Trump. So they showed their hands, in my opinion, with that. In that apparently the majority of the people really didn't vote for Trump. So either there's a greater number of people in the here's the thing, their vote doesn't count, so we got to look at the electoral vote. This electoral voting thing, it doesn't even it doesn't even matter. Because even in that process, that is a mobocracy, and it is not a Republican form of government. Because those people who were sitting there as electors, they made the decision. In a Republican form of government, the people make the decision. So that's an example right there of the democratic mobocracy versus the Republican form of government that's supposed to be guaranteed to all the states that clearly in this election was absent, And what's really, to me, what's kind of sort of, it's kind of sort of distressing, but it's not, because I've read the prophet's work, What's kind of sort of distressing is that with all of the people on American soil, it's almost as if too many of them are asleep to this fact. Because, in my opinion, so much has been unveiled in just, the last year or two. And still, the people have not learned that you are not supposed to be at the mercy of the public servants. The public servants are supposed to be doing what the people dictate. That's what a Republican form of government, not a Republican Party, but a Republican form of government is all about. Just want to read something that I found. I hope I can find it. I found this definition out of, what is it called? The American I wasn't thinking to read this, so I don't have everything in order as I ought to. Jurisprudence, American Jurisprudence, which is a book of American law. And I was reading something, and I came across it, and I was like, wow, okay, I get it. What I'm going to do is, if I'm going to continue looking, and if I find it, I will read it at some point. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up the line so that we can take some callers. So if you have a comment, a question, or a concern, press 1 on your telephone dial, and you will be placed in the queue, and we will take your calls in the order that we receive them. So I need to just do one more thing. Let's see. Definition. This is out of the American Jurisprudence, second edition, and it is the definition of public officers and employees. And it reads, as expressed otherwise, the powers delegated to a public officer are held in trust for the people and are to be exercised in behalf of the government or of all citizens who may need the intervention of the. Furthermore, the view has been expressed that all public officers within whatever branch and whatever level of government and whatever be their private vocations are trustees of the people, and accordingly labor under every disability and prohibition imposed by law upon trustees relative to the making of personal financial gain from a discharge of their trust. That is, a public officer occupies a fiduciary relationship to the political entity on whose behalf he or she serves and owes a fiduciary duty to the public. It has been said that the fiduciary responsibilities of a public officer cannot be less than those of a private individual. Furthermore, it has been stated that any enterprise undertaken by the public official which tends to weaken public confidence and undermine the sense of security for individual rights is against public policy. I found that I was looking for something and I found that definition, and when I read it, I was like, wow, that is so deep. See, because that's talking about the Republican form of government guaranteed by the Constitution. Now, what then comes into play is a lot of times we find ourselves in situations where you have people who are operating in the capacity of a public servant, alleging, now let me just say this, the public servant is a public servant in that capacity for one reason and one reason only, because the people delegated to that public servant the authority to function in a capacity where they are bound and obligated to protect the people. That's Article 6 of the American Constitution. So now when these public servants, in whatever capacity they may find themselves, whether it's the feds, the states, or their contractors, when they allege to have personam and subject matter jurisdiction over the very people who hired them and put them in these public servant positions, and then ensure that they are compensated, can never have personam or subject matter jurisdiction over the people who hired them. That's like I hired somebody to mow my grass, and then the person who mows my grass attempts to take my stuff and allege that they have personam and subject matter jurisdiction over me when I hired them. And I think the only reason that we get tripped up because we have been intentionally misinformed, and we're in a place right now where we're forced, literally forced to play catch up. If you don't catch up, it's like if you don't learn how to swim and swim fast, you're gonna drown. And this is just an excellent analogy, and then I'm going to start opening up the lines and take calls, because I hear this a lot from people. You know, people, they get, and I understand it. I have been there myself. We get into this whiny place. I don't want to do it myself. I want you to do it for me. Why can't you do it for me? Where's my government? How come I don't have a number to call when I get into a situation? How come nobody ain't coming and speaking for me? How come nobody's writing writs for me? Let me give you a great analogy that you are a human being. Because if you was a bird, you get no warning. Mother wakes up one day, she looks you up and down, she says, I've given you enough information, and she kicks you out the nest. You got to learn to fly before you hit the ground. It's a good thing you're a human being, baby, because Mother Bird don't be playing. Pray you don't come back as a bird, because your whining is going to fall on deaf ears. She's going to be up in that nest Spread your wings, baby. Do it quickly. The ground is getting closer. That's it. That's all you get if you get that.
And somebody brought that example, is Islam. Somebody brought a similar example to me today with regard to a situation somebody was dealing with. And we came to the conclusion that the reason the individual was in the situation was simply because they didn't know. They didn't take the time to make sure they knew how to flap their wings before they went and jumped out the nest. They didn't even wait to get pushed out.
Oh.
They thought they knew what was going on, and they see mom flap wings and stuff like that. They want to jump out of stuff. And you don't even have feathers yet.
Oh, my goodness.
Right? So, you know, it's you know, it's a good, you know, fear is a good lesson sometimes. You know, fear, you know, for example, back home, you know, I use this example too, that, you know, when it's time to swim or learn to swim, they say, let's go fishing or whatever. And they take you out of the ocean in a boat and they throw you off the boat until you swim to shore. You learn to swim very fast when you realize there's nothing under you when you start going down. You learn how to paddle your legs and learn how to move your arms to go through the water and go in a direction because of fear. Right? Now, yeah, the boat's there, you know what I mean? They're you know, it's not they took off and left you or whatever, but you learn when you're pressured. But in certain situations, you don't be pressured because, again, if we go back to the beginning, if you're dealing with the mobocracy, trust me, they're not going to be kind to you if you don't know. When you're dealing with the mobocracy, if you're premature, they don't care if, you know, you're young. They don't care if you're green. They're still going to eat you. Just like, you know, some people see the green mango and they don't do nothing with it, and some people chop it up and they make chutney out of it. So you don't want to be green around these people. You know, and again, it goes back to the theme of why Joe Ali said study 3 times. Because there's no way that you should be out there doing things, trying to do things, you know what I mean, when you're supposed to be studying. The point of study 3 times is so that you could sit your ass down and not be doing stuff other than studying. Because just like Mother is saying, praise Allah that you're a human being. Because don't think when crabs have to cross the street to get to the water and stuff like that, that they got some instructions about, you know, that thing coming down there is going to crush you in this street if you don't hurry your ass across the street. You know, how many birds die because they didn't know how to fly really? And, you know, I'm sorry, you know, mom might be sympathetic and all that stuff, but hey, you know, you should have been following instructions. Not eat worms all the time instead of learning how to flap your wings. You know, well, you know, the more worms you eat, the heavier you're going to be when I kick you out the nest. You know, so be very open, especially with new people coming in, because, you know, it seems, you know, with the whole Trump thing going on, and, you know, the same thing, people get caught up in the illusion of, you know, this guy and what he's going to do, and oh my gosh, you know, we need to go to Africa and stuff like that and get out of here because, you know, it's not that serious. It's really not that serious, especially if you're taking your time to study and you're not even paying these people any mind. Out of sight, out of mind. Democracy doesn't exist if you're not thinking about them. Highwaymen don't exist if you're not thinking about them. Matter of fact,
correct.
they're not even going to manifest. They're not even going to manifest if you're not thinking about them.
That's right.
Because as a man or a woman thinketh, so is their environment. You know. But I yield the floor. I don't know how many hands are up, but I yield.
Yes. I have a two definitions. I have a request to read two definitions from out of the Black Law Dictionary, and then we're going to take some calls. The first, and they actually correlate to democracy or democratic, but they're both democratic and democracy. It's one and the same. There is no difference, all right? But there is a big difference between well, like I said, there is nothing in the Constitution that speaks of a republic or a democratic party. Nothing at all. If somebody sees it in there, point it out to me. It only speaks of a Republican form of government, and then you got to know what a Republican form of government means. Because if it's a Republican form of government, it ain't got nothing to do with a Republican. You see, there's not supposed to be any so-called two parties, because on American soil, it's all about the people, electing people to sit in those seats, void of any political aspirations or parties. Their only function is supposed to be to ensure that the people are safe and that anything that is going on is for the advantage of the people, not corporate interests. That's why this whole thing is jacked up. The people's soul need to wake up, especially the Moors. With a special note to those Moors that think this is all about commerce, please let it go. All right? Only way that this can be about commerce is if you got a product. All right? And products on this land, in the Moorish nation, anciently, comes from Mother Earth. All right? So please let that commerce thing go and enforce the Constitution. And so the two definitions, they correlate with democracy. The first one is on page 620. It's in Crouch, and the definition reads, to enter by gradual steps or self into the possession or right of another, to trespass, intrude, to gain unlawfully upon the land, property, or authority of another, as if one man presses upon the ground of another too far, or if a tenant owed 2 shillings rent service and the Lord extract 3. So too, the spinsters were said to encroach the king's authority. That's what's going on right now. And then you have invasion, which can be found either out of the Black Law 4th edition dictionary. Invasion, page 959, an encroachment upon the rights of another, the incursion of an army for conquest or plunder. This is what is going on. The only reason that this is going on is because the people are not enforcing the American Constitution, 1791. This is why this stuff is going on. We as Moors, we're supposed to be the enforcers. Look, you running around with a bay on your appellation, you're supposed to be out there making sure the law is obeyed. The supreme law on this land is the American Constitution, because it was written based on the principles of universal law. That means that this whole commerce issue, it needs to be let go, because this ain't about commerce. There ain't no transaction that took place. There's no contract that was written up. where you gave up your unalienable and inalienable liberties because that's impossible to do. Just to really recognize exactly what our ancestors brought for us in the form of this American Constitution, because we haven't even begun to scratch the surface of it. So with that, I'm going to start taking some calls. So we have caller 312-248. Caller 312-248.
Oh, hey, am I online?
Yes, you are. Islam.
Islam family. I was just listening. This is Tahir Ishaf L. I'm from calling near the Chicago Corporation. I'm near that territory. Calling from Northwest New Mexico, but I was just listening to the program. I was actually doing my delivery, so yeah.
All right. No problem. No problem.
Peace
no
and love.
problem.
Thanks.
All right. Peace and love. After I mute you, press 1 and you will come out of the queue.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Islam. Okay.
All right. Caller 720-509. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest New Mexico.
Family, Islam. I am RVBey from Northwest New Mexico. I know you guys have heard this many, many times, but I'm certain that it is something that we can express. We cannot express enough, so I'd like to take this moment to express my gratitude to you, Mother Naid, and Brother Cujo. I know there are many times where you guys are tired, but I know you guys still take the time and energy to help us awaken our DNA, so thank you very much. So the purpose of me raising my hand is to ask the first two are related.
Before you ask your question, you're sounding, I don't know if it's me, but you sound like you sound low.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Can you guys hear me better now?
Not. It sounds the same. Keep on talking.
All right. Yeah, you're gonna have to excuse that. My bad. I'm not sure why, but I'll try to speak louder.
It's better now.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So I have 3 questions, but I'll try to see if I can make it as quick as possible. The first 2 are interrelated.
Actually, you can take your time because unless you're take your time. We got a lot of time.
Okay. All right. So the first question pertains to quote unquote mortgage, which we all know is fraud. And one of the key things in the debt pledges, especially in tribunals, is one being able to present themselves and not to be represented. My question is, my parents are under the assumption that they are, some type of contract with the CEO of some type of mortgage company who have been assigning their quote-unquote loans to other entities. So would it be appropriate for me to speak for them as an heir and in corporate property? Because, to be honest, they are absolutely uninformed. But, I've been speaking to them and I've been showing them some things. And it seems like their spirits are, slowly, they are resonating and, assimilating with the information. And I know the status is the key, but, they still don't understand it. And we can't be what we don't know. So my question is, do you think it's appropriate when I start sending out these discoveries, asking for the accounting information, the title and all those things? Should it be under my appellation or under their appellation, or better yet, all of our appellation, since they're not quite, knowledgeable yet? First question.
All right. Well, you can do that, but you have to recognize that at any given time, they can negate your effort simply because they don't know.
Wow. Okay.
And then also also consider that, just like you're saying, if they don't have the knowledge, like let's say you send those writs, and then the day that you go to work, that's the day that they decide to send something to the house, and then they get it, and they're opening letters and stuff like that they shouldn't be opening because of stuff that you did, that they don't really have the knowledge. It could it could put you in a messed up situation with your parents if these people decide to pull mortgages and stuff like that, and you know what I mean, make your life a living hell because you know what, but because they don't know, remember that the people who are in ignorance, the corporate states are going to use those people against the people who aren't ignorant.
That's right.
And most times, they use your family against you more than they're going to use a highwayman or a sheriff or whatever. Because remember, they're still going on the idea of, in order to get everything or in order to be able to make claims, break the family up. So we give the stuff up, opposed to them taking it. Right? So the best thing to do is doing exactly what you're doing. Give them some information slowly, you know what I mean? Because, I'm not sure what age group your family's in, but, older people are hard to sway, especially after they've been conditioned to get mortgages and stuff like that, and they think that that's how stuff's supposed to go. You know what I mean? So, it's like when people, when we're telling people about change their diet, you don't want to go cold turkey if you've been eating pork and all that stuff. You want to wean yourself off of stuff. You want to wean yourself off of crack. You're not just going to tomorrow not smoke crack because you want to be clean. Because when that withdrawal hits you, you're going to be having some issues. You know what I mean? That you're not going to know how to deal with. Especially in the case of what you're talking about, these people are going to hit them from every angle based on their ignorance. And as soon as they mess up, they're sweeping in, and now you have an issue with you and your family. So continue doing what. Give them the information as well. Remember that with older people, stay away from videos and give them literature. Don't show them YouTube stuff and all that about somebody did a lecture on mortgage or whatever. Give them stuff for them to read because that's where they're coming from. You know what I mean? They're not new age. It's just like with when on the weekend I was at my mom's setting up the internet box, TV, whatever, right? And she's not going with, this button does that, this button does that, this button, whatever. She's writing down what she has to press, right? Because their mind is from books and stuff like that, right? They're from that literary perspective. So meet them. Go on the mortgage page, print out some stuff from that on RVBey publications. Give them stuff like that slowly. Get the property book off RVBey. Give them the property book. Make them read that. But I understand wanting to save them because of what you're finding out. But certain people have to learn in their own time. You can't really force things, especially when you're dealing with family, because they love you. But when their God says certain stuff, they're gonna turn on you in a heartbeat.
Islam. That is It's almost as if you read my mind. You just that is very accurate, and that was what was going through my mind. I didn't really have anyone else to share it with. Most people really don't understand the reality of how things function. Thought I come get some clarifications. That was the conclusion I came to. But yeah, I guess that's how it's gonna be. Just take it slow and steady. But right now, the thing is, they've had another third-party interloper, which is just one of these companies that basically represents them and speak for them, not in the tribunal, but just, they're partners, they're buddies with the mortgage company. So basically they contract on behalf of, the incompetent people and have the mortgage people dig into the escrow. So basically the previous mortgage people they sold the loan like a little time period now whereby they don't have to, quote unquote, pay, which is like 3 or 4 months. And, it's been reassigned. I'm like, should I use this opportunity?
Wait a minute. Who doesn't have to pay? Hold on. Who doesn't have to pay?
Well, my parents. Basically what happened was, they got, it's called Illinois Hardest Hit. Basically they help people with mortgage crisis, quote unquote. So they speak on behalf of the people experiencing a mortgage crisis. So basically what happened was my parents wouldn't have to pay for about, I don't know, a year or so. I'm assuming they dug into the escrow or something must have happened. And I just saw the paperwork today and I was like, wow, there's a lot going on. But I guess I'll go from there. I'll introduce him to RVBey and hopefully they can find some things out. And
another thing another thing you could probably do is sitting in on those meetings, just being present when they go meet with the whoever working out whatever they're working out for this. It sounds like some type of mortgage release thing, or like when they say you don't have to pay interest for a year or whatever like that, because of financial situation type of thing. So eventually it's going to come around where they have to meet again to get this thing going again.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So being present, and having the information there so that you could present it so that the reaction of the mortgage people is what's going to school your parents, not you. You know what I mean? So you start questioning certain things.
Yeah.
You start questioning certain things with them, with your parents there and the mortgage people there that they have to answer. That's going to school your parents as to what's going on. You being their representative in that sense. Because of them being quote unquote minorities and can't really, handle their own affairs, since you're competent, you want to be there just to make sure that, they're not getting taken advantage of because, you were watching the whatever on investigative reports and the fake mortgage people and stuff like that. So, you're just sitting in just to, make sure things are going legit,
Islam. I got you. I resonate with all that. It makes a lot of sense. Mother and Naive, is there anything that you'd like to, input? Because I like to get as much, input as possible.
Well, my only concern is usually, when they tell you, oh, you don't have to pay for X amount of time, that's usually a setup. Because what they're counting on is that you don't have the foresight to just put the money in a bank and let it sit there or something like that. That's what most people would do. Oh, you don't have to pay 3 months. Oh, great, I got 3 months extra income. I'm going to go buy this and that and whatever, you know. But then they don't, you know, invariably they always circle back and they say, okay, well, what you got to do is we gotta, you know, you got to pay that 3 months, or we're going to have to do it like, you know, like a new, what they call it, a second mortgage or something like that, which doesn't give you a better deal. It just puts you more into debt. That's my only concern, because that's what they usually do, stuff like that. That's my only concern.
Gotcha. I got you in my mind. So assuming that everyone is on the same page, or maybe just, I don't know, maybe for myself in the future, in the case that, you know, everyone knows what's up, what type of court can actually hear a case like this?
What kind of what?
What type of court can actually hear a case like this? Would it be in the federal court? Or?
Well, it depends. It's usually, if you're talking, well, I would say it's always a federal issue, because you have to look at, you know, most people, they miss that the silent partner in every mortgage is the municipal corporation. But like I just read to you that American Jurisprudence, second edition, the definition of public officer and employee, right?
Yes.
So now, if you were to do just what I would suggest you do is go and get the mortgage and any other paper that is recorded in the deeds office. One of the things I can tell you for a fact is none of these people own nothing. You already know that. If you do the definition of mortgagor, which is what your parents is listed as, it tells you that these are people who are coming, they're using collateral that they already have to secure a loan. That's what the definition says. So what is the property, what is the collateral that they already have that is being used to secure a loan? Mm-hmm. That's what the first line of the mortgage document, it says that your parents are the mortgagor. The definition of mortgage is someone who is using collateral that they already have to secure a loan. Well, if you already have it, what you need a loan for?
Definitely. I agree with you.
Most of us,
I really do.
Many people, number one, they don't expect. Most of us don't know nothing about contracts. We don't. How many times have you gone to a hospital and they give you this informed consent to sign? How many people know that when a contract is presented to you, you can cross out things, initial it, and add things and initial it? How many of us do that? That's a contract. A contract is not one-sided. When you look, you know what? Back when I was younger, they used to have, I don't know if you remember this, they used to have this show called Dallas and Knots Landing and Falcon Crest, right? And when people was calling them in these shows, it was like a nighttime soap opera. But one of the things that I noticed, and I can reflect back, is that when they got married, rarely got married in a church. They drew up a contract, and they went over the contract together line by line. They made changes. they took away stuff, they added stuff, they initialed it, and then at the bottom of the page, they would initial it as, I'm signing off on this page. Let's move to the next page. And then they would take those changes and they would type them up in a fresh contract, and both of them would reread it and then sign it. And then they would have a caterer come and set out chairs outside their home, and they would have a little, what do you call it, like a receptionist, because the marriage took place when they signed the contract. Call them heathens, but that's contract. That's really a contract. You know, when you get together with somebody, you're entering into a contractual obligation where you're supposed to be, and it's got nothing to do with nobody but the parties involved. Anciently, when we got together, our contract was based on our astrological makeup, because the only reason we get together was to help each other grow spiritually. Well, if your astrological makeup didn't support that, then you get together. That's the only reason that we were here, was to learn, to grow spiritually. But like I said, look at that mortgage contract, pull out your Black's Law 4th edition dictionary, and, your unabridged price, 1965. You're going to also probably need an etymology and a Latin dictionary, and you will be absolutely amazed at the fraud that people sign that is called a mortgage contract that was never needed. And it was supported by, what did they call them? Public officers and employees. It was put forth by public officers and employees. And so what they were doing is intentionally engaging in misprision of treason. I'm going to read you the definition. A contempt against the sovereign, the government, or the courts of justice. Now, all of those things represent the people, including not only contempt of court, properly so-called, but also all forms of seditious or disloyal conduct and lese majesty. Maladministration of high public office, including manipulation of a public fund, a neglect or light account made of a crime, that is, failure in the duty of a citizen to endeavor to prevent the commission of a crime, or having knowledge of its commission to reveal it or unveil it to the proper authorities, and the concealment of something which ought to be unveiled. That's misprision of treason. The mortgage company is guilty of that. The municipal corp, the employees of the municipal corporation, they are guilty of that. The so-called banks, they are guilty of that, because the banks don't have anything. And according to the Federal Reserve Corporation, in their charter, which all banks have to sign off to, the banks can't loan their assets, nor can they loan the assets of other people. All right? So where did the so-called money they are loaning your mother or your parents? Now, a lot of times they'll say, well, it comes from investors, right? But where do the investors put their finance? In the bank. That still makes it assets of the bank. It's so much treason going on everywhere you turn. It's treason. And the only reason it is allowed to continue it's because the people don't know. And they're never going to know as long as the very people who are engaging in treason against us is also calling themselves hating us and our children and our children's children, we're never going to know. Unless we do something independent outside of this process.
And I have another reference point. Have you ever got them to read James Traficant's bankruptcy speech?
That is what I actually got my father to read yesterday. He was reading it, and he was a bit confused because, from my understanding, you have to have some knowledge of some other, foundational things to him, and he was blown away, because the way I started the conversation with.
Yeah, the reason I was bringing that up was because it talks about the mortgages in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You see, you stick to that point. Stick to like Brother Abdullah was talking about earlier in our class, that one, you have to have a source for them. You can't just be talking out your mouth or whatever, right? So the source is that's congressional records. You can't argue with it. You know what I mean? So it's a source. It's a reference point for them to know how legit it is, this argument that you're presenting. And then go to the part in the speech where he's talking about the mortgage and how much of a fraud that is. You don't really have to go into the other stuff. You know what I mean? Yet. But meet them where they at with regard to what you know, because clearly you study, so you don't want to get them confused,
right?
By throwing the sink and everything else at them.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it real light. Keep it with what they're dealing with. You know what I mean? It might be something, it might be something that too much information is going to get them to not want to know, because you start, like how we get, that we find out new information, we're open to finding out new information, so we're going to research more. When they get new stuff, they shut down. When they get new stuff, they don't want to hear anymore, because it's going against their paradigm that they're used to. Right?
Right.
So it's good that you're using that, but tighten your scope, close your radar with regard to the information you're giving them, so that you can give them specific information relative to immediately what they're dealing with, like bringing my mom into the information. First thing I did was just give her a Quran because she loves Jesus, and left her alone. I talked to her about nothing else after that.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Just gave her a Quran and just said, oh, you love Jesus? Okay, well, here's a book about Jesus that you should probably read. And that was it. Now she calls me Cujo and all that stuff. I didn't need to tell her nothing. It's not something that I have to, force on her. You can't call me the name that you gotta, by herself. By herself, she wants to know, well, when's the next thing that you guys are doing or whatever, so I could come by and check it out or whatever. You know what I mean? So, we just have to remember that we're cut from a different cloth. When we're dealing with them, we have to really tread lightly, because they've been through the ringer, and we're probably all they got left.
And
if
that's
they don't
the
have us,
best way.
they're done for.
That's the best way, really. That's the best way to give information. Just give a little bit, and it's usually I learned this the hard way. Back in my Amway days, let me tell you, I was so excited. Just like I've always been excited about information, especially when it empowers you and helps you to do things that help you in your life, right? And I learned a lot, like, because I'm a huge reader. So when I got information, I was so excited. I was sharing it with everybody, buying them books and everything. And I learned that is the quickest way to burn yourself out. It's not. It doesn't mean that you don't love your family. That's not what it means. It means that, look, you're just one person. And even if you're dealing on a one-on-one basis, because people are set in their ways, a lot of times, unless you're talking to a 5-year-old that you're going to encounter, they are set in their ways. All right?
That is
and
true.
even if they come into this information, it's still an uphill battle for everybody, because if you're first and foremost, you're dealing with your own self. Because we got a lot of garbage inside of us that fights us even when we're not aware of it. So imagine you going through that, and now you trying to get this information into somebody you love and you want them to be with you. That's going to burn you out. The best thing to do is to give them a book. Cujo said, don't try to talk to them, because you know what? It's not what you're telling them. It's not going to stick and stay with them. It's going to evaporate. Because you know what? One of the things that I learned is that when you talk to people about 3 or 4 subjects, they can retain it. But a lot of times we get into talking to people and we go past 5 subjects quick. Their eyes gloss over, you still talking to them. So the best way to not burn you and them out is to just give them a book and walk, just one book. Just one book. Don't give them all the books, because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen with that. They're going to put them on the shelf, because all the books is going to overwhelm them. But one book they can read. And if they come back to you, you can give them another book, or suggest where they can purchase another book. But only if they come back. Don't go chasing them down.
Yeah.
I learned this from my Amway days. Let me tell you, because when you're talking to a bunch of people, you want to know which ones you need to spend the most time with. The ones that come back is who you spend your time with. The ones who never come back, leave them alone.
Straight up.
So,
Wow.
I'm telling you, that's the way you do it.
That's true.
And as well too, like, we sometimes we get in our feelings because they don't want to know.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So don't let them not knowing have any impact on you whatsoever. If they don't want to know, that's up to them. If they only want to know a little bit, that's up to them. Just keep in mind that the position that you've taken to be where you are right now is because you are a different being. You have a different connection to the information than they do. You know what I mean? And we sometimes forget that people are different. We sometimes forget people have different learning styles, and they might not get it first time. The amount of people that that came back to me 4 years later, like, oh, now I know what you're talking about or whatever, you know. Wow. But just because I left them alone, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, opposed to drilling them, you push people away faster that way, you know. And it's not, and again, it's not a negative on them that they don't want to learn, or, you know, they're dissing or whatever like that. You know, why you keep calling me by the name that I told you that's not my name and all that. It's not that serious. You know what I mean? You know what your name is? Once you know what it is, you don't worry about them. You know what I mean? Unless it's some stuff where, you know, highwayman coming to the door, you know what I mean, asking for that name, and then they're trying to say that that's you or whatever. But other than that, it's not that serious. Yo, let the dead be dead. You know what I mean? They'll wake up. Don't worry. They'll wake up. You know?
And you know what? If they don't, that's all right too. Because guess what? Life is everlasting. Everlasting. So if they don't get it this go round, they'll get it the next.
They'll be back. They'll be back.
Yeah. They will be back. And don't feel like, oh my God, I don't want them to die and go to the grave with this not knowing. Don't look. That's not gonna happen. They you know what? Here's the thing, you know, and this was a lesson that I had to learn. When people pass, the only reason people pass is because they have accomplished whatever they set out to accomplish. Because you will not leave here until you have accomplished whatever it is that you set out to accomplish. It may not be everything, but you're not. Let me tell you, I've seen people like my granddaughter came here, was here for 6 months, and it really hurt our family when she passed. But whatever it is that she agreed to do, she completed it in 6 months. Now I have my mother and father, they still hanging on. Everybody else is passed. They don't have nobody else to hang out with. You know, they're the last ones of both families. So clearly they haven't completed whatever it is they were supposed to accomplish.
Indeed.
Go figure. You know, so but you know, I think Prophet Noble Drew talks about that in the Holy Quran. You know, he speaks of, you know, when we hang on to people who it's time for them to go or whatever, it's really a selfish thing because they've accomplished their life purpose. Well, at whatever it was they were supposed to accomplish, and we need to let them go.
Yep.
So they're not gone. They'll be back. And we'll come back stronger.
Definitely. And one more question though, before I, you know, I don't know how I stumbled upon this, but I have it down in my notes. It's the Masonic Gate newspaper article called Misrepresented Feudal Process by, you know, Brother RVBey. Do you guys know where I can get my hands in that? I try to look for it online. I don't find it.
You're trying to get what?
It's a newspaper article.
That's what you said, right? Masonic Gate?
Newspaper article. Yes, it's from the Masonic Gate. It's
titled, that's from Brother Abdullah's page or website.
Okay.
MoorishCivilLetter.net.
Okay, I got it. Cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Moorish, CIVILETTER.net.
Indeed. All right. Islam family.
There's a lot more.
Well,
thanks for calling in.
Yes, thank you. Question. already. So our next caller is caller 443-376. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest of Maximum.
Peaceful greetings, beloved family. I am Hassan Ghazi Obey at Northwest of Maximum. How are you?
Islam.
Islam. I just want to say both classes were excellent. The class earlier, Brother Cujo with Brother Abdullah was very excellent. And this class as well. Thank you all for the literature that you are producing. It's well appreciated. I definitely appreciate it. There was a question that was posed to me, and I was dealing with my nationality card. Some people had noticed that my nationality card was reflective, and theirs weren't as reflective, and they were asking me about the card reflection. I gave a response. Some was like if there was a situation and I needed to let it be known that I guess I was under distress, maybe that I would be one way I would signal by flashing my card in the light. But I just wanted to have the family possibly expound on that. That's just kind of what I gathered in my studies. So just because I gathered that in my studies, that might not be, for someone else to actually gather within themselves until they study it themselves or whatever. But could you address the reflections on the nationality card and the purpose of them? And with that, I yield the floor, family.
Hold on. Before you answer, you want what? About the nationality card?
Yeah, somebody had asked me why was my nationality card so much more reflective than theirs? And
reflective. Well, what nationality card do they have? Did it come from RVBey publications?
I would say that it did, but in reality, it's not like I was there with them filling it out. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't see if they, got their money order for it and things of that nature. It's just that when I pulled my card out and I saw their cards, I saw no reflections on their cards at all.
Where did they get their card from?
Hearsay is inadmissible in court, but they say RVBey. And I just defended it doggedly. I was like, you sure about that? Because I just couldn't see that possibly happening. Like, I couldn't believe it.
You couldn't? Okay, so this other person that you're talking about, they got a national identification card from RVBey publications, and they're saying it doesn't look like yours?
What I am saying is that they had a card that tried to resemble what comes from RVBey publications, but with my experience with RVBey, that card has reflections on it. Like, you can hold it into the light and see, like, holographic reflections. So in my spirit, for lack of better words, I felt within my gut that they didn't get that card from there.
Well, they either got it from RVBey publications or they didn't. That's
right,
it.
That's
if they didn't get it from RVBey publications, then there's really nothing that we can say about it because it's not our card. It's not a card that we produce.
Thank you.
But see, if this person is saying that they used it in some sort of so-called court, appearance of some sort, and it wasn't accepted, you know what? The card doesn't make the person. The person makes the card.
Right.
With or without the card, it doesn't matter. The card does. You show the card, but you're supposed to be able to articulate who you are. So,
I agree.
We're the only people people that think that, we need an instrument to say who we are. And I understand why we're doing it, because you're sending this out. to tell people to make a statement. It's a brief, as Raj always says. But if we look at our brothers and sisters around the world, they don't have that challenge. When they say they are who they are, that's it. There is no room for discussion. But if somebody is saying who they are and they sound like they got reservations, well then they're gonna get attacked. I mean, you gotta understand it. Dogs smell fear.
Indeed and agreed.
I've gone into 20 municipal venues as well as, state and federal courts. I've never had to pull out anything to affirm who I say I am. Never.
Mother Anahita, I would like to resonate that or reverberate that within this last year. There's certain places that I go. You know how I guess a quote unquote up north, they call them bodegas, but places that our other brothers and sisters from other parts of here that run little convenience stores. It's at a point now, I mean, I don't even have to really pull out my nationality card. Sometimes I'll, make a deal there. I'm like, hey, bro, like, I know that this postal board, is not, $1.50 a piece as you're saying, but here's 2 notes, I have 2 notes, and can I roll with that? Or one brother tried to say something plus tax, and I knew he was a practicing, quote-unquote, ritualistically speaking, a Muslim, and I just said 2 words. I said, Sharia law, brother. And he was like, okay, brother, you can go. But, of course, I have on my fez. So it's like when it comes to the card nowadays, it kind of reminds me when it says in Prophet Noble Drawi literature, it says your nationality card is changed in your pocket. And it's changing to a point where it's like I'm realizing that it's not even a realize as much as the experience of it actually happening. It's like you'll see that the card is not you. You know what I mean? It's a brief, but if you can be and embody what is briefed in any documentation, and you're doing it in firstly in love and in honor, like you said, dogs smell fear, but they can also smell love too. You know what I'm saying? Like they know if you're really quote unquote about that national life or not. But I just wanted to say, like, I totally agree with that. And just thank y'all for inspiring me to go and produce literature as well, because I remember I spoke with Brother Abdullah not too long ago, and he was like, it's very honorable. You want to do, classes and teach. So he's like, look, man, that burns me out. Just write literature. And he's exactly right. So, and then when it's like, when I read you guys literature, like, I mean, everybody on the line, especially, I had at least 1 or 2 books, if not more, of something that you, Mother Annie, and you, Brother Cujo, have produced. And when I do, read the books and then go back to blog talks that are archived, or go back to YouTube videos that are archived, and it just makes it that much richer in me knowing and being who I am consistently. And I remember you told me about 1.5 years ago, Mother, and you're like, there's going to come a time where you're just going to stop, like, talking, and you're just going to be what you know. I just wanted to just say, ultimately, thank you. I didn't even think I was going to be on this long. I just wanted to say thank you guys and ask about the reflections on the card and stuff. I know it's not usually me. Usually I'm just, talking a lot. But, I mean, it's really no need. Like, when I'm just listening to the classes and reading the materials, like, every like, you cannot lose if you stick to RVBey. And Cujo, you already know, 12 to 18 months, Like, that's really, it's really true. But I'm guessing, like, our people, and I'll be first and foremost to say, we're going to have to stop being hard-headed, you know what I mean, and really go to the website and really sit down and read, kind of in a stovetop oven fashion, to get better results instead of microwave results. But I yield the floor.
All righty. All right. Peace and love. Thank you for that.
Peace and love.
All righty. Caller. Let's see. 972-839. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Nixon.
Yes, family. Once again, this is Abdul Malik Sabir Shakur Bey. I'm calling for Northwestern Nixon, Texas Republic Territory. You have another great show tonight, and it's very interesting. It's a needed show also. Cujo, what's happening, my brother? Canada.
Peace and love, boy. How you doing?
Peace and love always. On here, Miz, I heard you on the broadcast that Roz Moran, she out. No moles can't stay down. They got to move around. It's long. Now, we know we had this recent election just a few days ago, and it's a correct topic that you all are speaking on, Democrat or Republic, democracy of the Republic. First thing I would like to say here, the citizens of all free nations or national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classified as undesirables and are subjected to all the inferior abuses and mistreatment that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national laws of a free national government, cling to the names and principles that delude to slavery. Islam, our great instructor, divinely prepared, Prophet Noble Jew Ali, Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali, was sent here to raise the people up to learn and know who their foremothers and forefathers were, which we are descendants of today. And we need to know law, study to show yourself approved, so when you come against these devils and these demons, you know the appropriate, and you're in your proper person, proper persona, and you can stand erect on your 45 degree on your stance and in your mentality, in your mind, and you know the word is in the verb to say. We need to know what we're endeavoring into when we face these demons, and they may look like you, because our illustrious prophet warned to be careful, more. Those who look like you will put you back in slavery again. I'm going to read this out of chapter 45 out of Holy Quran, chapter 7. The fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nations of North America need to learn to love instead of hate, and to know their higher self and lower self. This is the uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca. For teaching and instructing all Moorish Americans, etc. The key of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nation. Speaking about you, Moors, who are the ancient Moabites and the founders of the holy city of Mecca. The Egyptians, who were the Hammatites and of a direct descendant of Mizraim, the Arabians. The seed of Hagar, Japanese and Chinese, the Hindus of India, the descendants of the ancient Canaanites, Hittites, and Moabites of the land of Canaan. The Asiatic nations of North, South, and Central America, the Moorish Americans and the Mexicans of North America, Brazilians, Argentinians, and Chileans in South America, Colombians, Nicaraguans, and the natives of San Salvador in Central America, etc. All of these are what? Muslim, Islam. The texts are the true descendants of Hagar, who are the chief protectors of the Islamic creed of Mecca, beginning from Muhammad I, the founding of the uniting of Islam by the command of the great God, who? Allah. Now, since democracy is implanted because the people have been hit in the head, hoodwinked, bamboozled, and in 2017, they're still being straight out lied to. Now we shoot with public. Yeah, we are the same people when you said over here with the help of those, I don't know what deal they made, brought you people over here, and when you got here, you seen the same people that was over there. We, us, Moors. This is our land. This is our republic that we set up. We have a constitution that is based upon the principle of law that is uniting us together, that will keep the devil in check. I heard the brother talk about the car. It don't make no difference what cars you have. If you do not know the law and know how to proceed in law and how to direct yourself in law to be on your 45-degree angle, which is coming from your ancestors, your foremothers and forefathers instructing you, because you have claimed who they were and are instilled in you, and you will go all the way, because Allah is our father, our mother, and he is leading us away. Islam, I relieve the flow.
All righty, Islam. All right. All right. We have a caller. Before we go to the next call, I just want to let everyone know, you have a question, comment, or concern, press 1 on your telephone dial. We have caller 309-299. You're live on the air. Please state your affiliation at Northwest Connection.
Because, like, I had other stuff to do. Like, he didn't understand that. Like, I was just, because I had to stay.
All right. I think she walked away from her phone. She must have had a conversation, but she walked away from her phone. We'll check back with her in maybe 5 minutes. Let's see. Well, we don't have any more callers. We don't have anyone with their hand up. So,
well, I mean, I guess it's like she doesn't, right? Because we have like lines and then.
She's deep in conversation. She done forgot she's on the phone. We got another caller. Caller 719.
Hello.
All right. You got some feedback going on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we hear you, Moor.
Oh, Islam family. I'm Major Bay at Northwest of Mexico from the Corporation, Colorado. And me and my wife had some questions, actually, what we're going through here at our apartment complex. And what they're doing is they're coming through doing random, pretty much invasions of privacy. Just we're going to come over and go through your house, and they're doing it under the guises of inspections, whatever they do. It's legal to grow in Colorado, and I understand that this is why they're doing that, but they're putting it under the guise of these other terms. And we feel that this is infringing upon our right to life, liberty, pursuit, happiness, right to a private life, etc., right? So a written affidavit of facts stating what was going on, and the things that I wanted them to produce, pretty much stating the contracts that said that we would agree to this, because even in our lease that we did sign prior to coming in here, it said that they didn't have permission to come into the house. The first time they came in, just came in the house. I was literally in here in my underwear with my 6-month-old daughter, and it was 2 guys. One guy's in the living room, one guy's walking through the other side of the house. I can't watch both of them. And I said, I can't ever allow that to happen again. So I filed a writ to...
But hold on. Before you continue, what are they coming in for?
They're saying that the city is going to come to do an inspection. And so before the city comes to do an
inspection for what?
That's the thing. It's random. They're not specific. They're just inspecting the apartments. And it's the whole complex.
No. If there's going to be an inspection, they have to tell you what it is for. And they just can't come into your apartment. They have to tell you the time that they're going to be there.
Since I filed the writ, I have the letter they sent us. I'm going to read it to you. And this is really what pissed me off for the second letter, because they did the first inspection. Of course, we were being cordial. We allowed them to come through, whatever. Then it started to go crazy. So it says, as you may know, Highland Point Apartments will be giving a city bureau inspection January 19th and 20th. In preparation for this, our staff will complete a pre-inspection walk of the property to get an idea of the repairs that will need to be completed in each apartment. Starting the week January 18th, we'll take the process of repairing the problems we found in your apartment. Attached is the copy of the work order detailing what needs to be done in your home. Now, check this out. We have not put in any work orders. So how is there a work order that says anything?
You're in an apartment. You're in an apartment. All right? You're renting an owner of that apartment. They need to inspect and make repairs. So you wouldn't be putting in any work order. The owner of that property would be putting in a work order. And if they're being inspected by the city, then they might be sanctioned if certain things is not repaired.
Okay, the owner is a corporation called Highland Point Apartments, and their corporation, their corporate office is actually in Texas. It's not privately owned, okay? And so they came in and saw the apartment. But what I'm saying is they came in and the person...
If they're privately or publicly owned, that they have to be inspected, and I've lived in apartments, so they have to come through like every year and make inspections.
You said that they have to give a date and time, correct?
Excuse me?
You said that they have to give us a date and time, and what is being inspected, correct?
Well, they told you in the letter. They told you in the letter that they're coming.
No, see, here's the thing. This is after the inspection. They did an inspection, the first one. I was here, okay? Upon the inspection, there was nothing that needed to be done, okay? So they're done coming here. Then they said, now, reason I was reading this to you is get to the point of the fact is, this is what they said. We are not able to give an exact date and time that we will be in your home due to the length of time that we may need to be in each unit. We will do our best to accommodate you if need to make arrangements for a pet or if an underage child will be at home by themselves. So pretty much stating they're coming in regardless.
Not only is that not acceptable, that's not lawful. By law, they have to tell you when they're going to be there, and they have to get your permission to be there without supervision, even though that is their property. You have an expectation of some type of security, and you're paying them for that space. They can't just come and go as they please because now it's not your place.
Exactly. So
then
because of what this letter, my letter I sent, my letter I sent was in response to this, because I have to do something to protect, and I can't watch my house or my kids every second, and I definitely don't want these people coming in like they did the first time when I'm not home or my wife isn't home. So I pretty much feel an affidavit. I pretty much stating what you guys said. You guys have to give us a time and a date when you'll be here that we have to accept. We already took off time from work, and it was supposed to be one initial inspection. So when they came by, they found nothing wrong with the apartment, and they placed a work order in for us after that, saying things that aren't. They said the door doesn't lock in the back, and it definitely does. It locks. They're just giving them reasons that are fictitious to come into these apartments. And the thing is, we didn't speak, so I'm here with them. They didn't say, hey, there's something wrong with this door. They didn't say anything. They said nothing was wrong with the apartment. They left. Then they made the work order for our apartment without our knowing, saying we're to come back at any random time. But this is to the whole complex.
Okay, first of all, they can make the work order. The work order doesn't have anything to do with you. Really, it doesn't. The work order comes from whoever owns the building. But they have to tell you when they have to tell you. They're supposed to send you some type of a letter stating that they're going to be coming on such and such a date, on such and such a time to repair something, whatever that something is.
They refused to do that, and they said that if for other reasons that we weren't home or they couldn't get into the apartment, they were going to fine us $200. And I guess some other people in the complex may have changed their locks, and they made a reference to that. Those who changed their locks would get an additional fine. So I sent them I sent an affidavit of fact. And they never came. They never knocked, they never did anything. They never came after I sent them that paperwork. But my question was I felt like you felt like they didn't give us the time, a place. They just said between these times, we don't care if kids are going to be there. That's not right. That's not right. And especially when we signed the lease, they asked us, do we have permission to be in your apartment without you guys there? And we specifically said, no, you don't. So now that we're here, they're like, okay, well, let's change the plans. Because was the writ the right thing to do? The affidavit of fact that I sent to the city, the state, and to the apartment. I sent to the city of Aurora, which is who's coming to the inspections, because they're not giving us a time. They're not giving us fair warning. I sent it to the office here, the management office, and I also sent it to the corporation that's located in Texas, to all three offices, and I filed it, and I sent it. You know how I learned about this, from RVBey publication.
All right, did they respond? Did anybody respond?
No, they have not, and I gave them 10 days to respond. And what I was getting to tomorrow is day number 10, and I think I'm supposed to file something else now because they did not respond to that. A breach of, I have to get back on the site and study a little more on what it is.
All right, okay, so let me ask you this. Your writ of discovery, you sent in a writ of discovery book. So what did you ask them for in the writ of discovery?
I asked them for, because they said that we filled out the work order. So I wanted to see the contract. I just wanted to see the work order that we filled out for these things, because I spoke to them. These things that this is what I'm saying. They're saying things that are broken in the apartment are not. Like the door does not lock. The door clearly locks. They're just, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, we didn't fill this out. Who did? We want to see who filled it out, because they're saying that we did. Also, where in the lease does it say that we can allow them into the apartment without permission, because they're clearly going against what it says in the lease that we signed with them. So that would make a breach of contract, wouldn't it?
Okay, hold on a minute. What exactly are you asking for in the writ of discovery?
Delegation of authority. A delegation of authority to infringe upon our rights.
Wait a minute. You're renting an apartment. What kind of delegation of authority would you be getting from an apartment complex that you're renting?
Well, in a delegation of authority, it says they can go against the lease that we signed to them. We signed a lease that says completely opposite of what they're doing. And what I'm trying to get them, I want to bring that to light.
Okay, but here's the thing. You have the lease. All right? That shouldn't be part of the writ of discovery, because you have the lease. So you can't ask them for the lease that you already have.
I didn't ask them for the lease. You want me to read it to you? I have it here.
No, because this is a public line, and I don't want your private business out in the public.
Okay.
What I'm just trying to get you to comprehend is, if you're asking that a writ of discovery asks for something, all right?
I'm asking for the. What I'm trying to say is, I'm asking for their show.
Based on what you have told me so far, a writ of discovery would not be the writ to be sent out.
What would be the correct writ to be?
What I would have sent out, I would have sent them a writ referencing the terms and the conditions of the lease.
I outlined that in the writ as well.
Okay, but the writ of discovery, just know that a writ of discovery is asking for something. So it's not the writ of discovery that you need to be sending out. But what you do need to be shown, because the lease is the terms and conditions. It is an agreement between, this is what I'm going to do for you, apartment complex, and this is what you're going to do for me, signer of meaning you. So
yes,
they're in breach of contract of their own lease because if it doesn't say in the lease that they can come in anytime that they want to, and these things that you are experiencing, if that's not in the lease, then they have breached the terms and conditions of their own lease. So a writ of discovery is not even part of the deal. Really, what you need to you would take them to like renters court, or you can file a complaint with the city if that complex or that building is under HUD or something. You would file a complaint with HUD, and you would send them your complaint. That would be the proper form.
Okay, complaint.
But you're not gonna send them a writ of discovery and asking them for their delegation of authority, because if you have a contract, that would be your delegation of authority.
Okay.
The other thing too is because it's an apartment, there could be other stuff going on with other tenants that they're checking everybody.
Mm-hmm.
There could be legal activity going on that they found out about or they heard about on your floor or whatever.
Really, it snowed out here, and they got complaints because the heat wasn't working for a lot of people, and since they weren't fixing it, they complained to the city. So the city was going to come do an inspection. But they wanted to do pre-inspections, the apartments, to make sure that they had their backs covered. So because of that, they were doing like 2 or 3 inspections in 2-3 weeks' time, and just like, we're going to come in here, it doesn't matter when you guys are here, it doesn't matter what it's in the lease, and we're like, hey, man, that's not right. You got to do that.
Right.
Well, but see, I understand what you just said. That's how all of these corporations work. I don't care what capacity they're in. I don't care. Like, I used to work at a hospital, and they get inspected every year. All right, every year, and they do the same thing that you're telling me every year. All right, so that's not what you're experiencing. I know it's an invasion of your privacy. You have an expectation of privacy. That's why you're giving them X amount of rent. So, and I think maybe it would be better, because I mean, it sounds like you just moved into this place. Am I correct? This is a new.
Yeah. So our issue was, when we moved in, all these things are just fine. We've been here for 3 months. This is our 3rd month. So everything is fine. And then my thing was, if these things were not functioning before we moved into the apartment, that is you guys' fault, because it was empty. We came in here, we did an inspection, and we checked off everything. They came in here and said the same thing. We checked off.
what I need for you to do is calm down. I know that you don't like this particular situation that you're in, but the reality of the situation, you have to look at what is best for you and your family right now. Unless you got a lump sum of money to move, like tomorrow, then you have to play your cards. And you got to play your cards in the best interest of you and your family, which means you don't want to piss these people off.
Right.
You want them to run. You want them to understand that you empathize with their dilemma because the city has lit a fire under their ass. That's why they're trying to run through and clean stuff up before the city shows up for their inspection because they know they've been slapped.
It already came. It already came and passed. It was just last week.
Right, but here's the thing. When the city comes through, if what you're saying happens, they got hit with you got to have X amount of stuff done in X amount of days, and we're coming back. And if it's not done, you're going to get hit with some fines. They may have already got hit with fines with the first inspection. So they're running through and trying to clean it up. So you have you need to let them know that you're willing to work with them, but they have got to respect your privacy and work with you. You gotta word it and give them the impression that, look, I want to work with you. I understand your dilemma, because you don't have a chunk of finance to move tomorrow. And if you piss them off, they can piss you off.
Yeah, more than
you don't want to jump from the frying pan into the fire. I'm not saying so. Play your cards right.
Okay.
You write up a letter, and you want to document. Get a notebook, and you need to write dates and times and things that are happening because that type of a diary is admissible in court if you should have to go there in the future. But right now, you need to get them to think that you're willing to work with them, as opposed to, oh my God, he's coming for us, and we gotta fix this. You don't want them right at this time to start coming after you.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So, what I would do is I would write a letter to them, and I would express in that letter that I understand you have a situation with the city of which I am not aware of, and it is causing you to go through the apartment complex and do checks and repairs multiple times. I understand, but I need you to understand that there must be a level of privacy for me and my family, and so that I would appreciate it if you name what you want, and they gotta be reasonable. Like, I would appreciate it if you let me know beforehand when you're coming, what you're coming to do, and how long it is going to take. That's a simple and reasonable request. Now, you have sent them a document, and you got a copy for yourself. You're showing, you want to start building up a file where you're showing that you've been trying to work with people and they've been unreasonable. Right now, you don't have that.
We sent an email similar to that when they called and told us this, because they told us this at first, right? And we sent them an email saying, hey, you need to tell us what's reasonable. Then their response was a letter that we have.
Okay, here's the problem with emails. Emails, they don't, people can say, I never got it. I never got it.
Yeah, I figured.
When you send a letter and it's tampered with in any way, that's a federal offense.
Okay. All right. Makes sense.
And
so
then
in the future,
also,
we'll go, because they never responded to anything that we sent, but they did not come. So the city's inspection was last week. They didn't come. They didn't knock. They didn't put their key in the door. They haven't responded to anything we said. So even when we haven't responded, and the city inspection already happened. What I was just wondering was, well, you pretty much answered my question. I sent the wrong paperwork. Next time it would be something along the lines of breach of contract, and I would complain to whoever their corporation is. Correct?
Yeah,
right.
But remember, they gave you a response. They gave you a response. They didn't show up. That was their response.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's okay. Thank you. All right, that made me feel a lot better.
But their response was, all right, fine.
I waited for him. I was home, but my point was, and then my wife couldn't take work off that day again. I had to take my day off to be here, and they still didn't come. So that was my point. Was we don't want to keep doing this whenever you guys say jump. To where I have to be here the whole week, because they gave us a whole week time frame. So just it makes sense, and you guys answered my question. Their response was not to come.
But and then keep in mind as well that when you go to work, you don't know if they're in there or not.
Exactly.
So it's not because of it being an apartment. You know what I mean? Like, they got a key. They come in there anytime they want. Once they don't leave footprints or move anything or whatever like that, you would have no idea that they went in there and did anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
About that.
They could have came. They just didn't come on the day
I was
that
here.
you stayed home.
I waited. I was here. The day the city came, I was here. For it was this last Thursday and Friday. The days that they came, they don't do weekends. Thursday and Friday, I was here all day. And my wife called. She said they come. I said nobody came. Nobody set the door in. Nobody came. Days. So I think the only thing that we're going to have to deal with is the fine. It's a $200 fine this month. So.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Islam family.
All right. Peace and love. All righty. I think I just lost Kuja. So, next caller is 773-746. You're live on the air. Please state your affiliation at Northwest Maxim.
Islam. Wow, I'm so glad. I've been calling in for like 20 minutes and it was full. But this is RVBey at Mecca, Morocco at Northwest Maxim. I am so glad to have gotten through. Wow, praise Allah. Well, we had a situation with the National, and he had his hearing today. Long story short, when asked to state his name for the record, the young Moabite stated the straw. He did not state, his appellation for the record appropriately, and thus my concern now is that they've given him another court date, and I'm presuming that he's going to go to trial as the so-called straw because, again, instead of being an appropriate persona, he basically put himself in a position to be prosecuted, and the public defender stood and spoke on his behalf when we were there to aid and assist him as his counsel. And with, we had every writ, every affidavit. We had everything that we needed to have to assist the National. And then when the time came for him to state his appellation so that he would, I was prepared to challenge the magistrate on subject matter jurisdiction. The entire ordeal itself had already been escalated.
Let me just say this. My sister. Counsel means that you can counsel him, but he has to speak. You cannot speak for him because anything that you would say would be hearsay.
Indeed. The entire situation, even with the public defender, when he came up to me, the man looked dead at me and said, yeah, we know they don't have jurisdiction. He said it. He said, yeah, these ain't real laws, so I get it. Let me just go up here. And then he went up there. The so-called officer who was supposedly an injured party to testify against the National, even the actual public defender was eating his story alive. And their exchange back and forth, it was ridiculous. But because he had stated his name and not his appellation for the record, it was like he was standing there and he couldn't even speak for himself. And so he didn't stand.
All right.
there.
So basically, what you're telling me is this person, this Moor, doesn't have enough information to present himself, or hasn't done enough studying to present himself.
Yeah, that may be the case. To stand before, at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other nationals, 4 other nationals, and when they ask you to state your name for the record, you say the straw. At that point, I wanted to walk out because I didn't come here to assist no dead man. I came to assist my brother who's a national. So I was already over it, to be honest with you. But my question now is...
Okay, but here's the reality of the situation, sister. I don't know what this situation is that this sounds like a young man is in. I don't know what his situation is. However, whatever it is, it sounds like he's not prepared to defend it. That's not unusual, and it's not a bad thing, because we have to keep in the front of our minds that our people have been mentally conditioned. He's got more years of misinformation than right information. So,
Indeed.
And if he's not studying, the chances of him standing up and saying, I am so-and-so, extra, whatever, authorized representative, it's a 50-50 chance. So he's just demonstrating where we are as a person. And I'm not sure how long you know him or how long you've known him to even know his true character. So you don't know if he's trying to scam or if he's sincere or what. So
wow, that's
true. One of the things we have to let the universe put us through these lessons. Don't get mad at ourselves or other people or even the lesson, but just to look at it and just try to figure out, okay, what's the lesson for me? What's the lesson for you, sister? Forget about the brother that's standing in front, of these people. What's the lesson for you? Because now he has to think, what is the lesson for me? And he's got to be objective enough about it to reflect on himself to find out what the lesson is for him. We all do. And that's a challenging thing for some of us to do, to reflect and figure out, okay, what is my lesson? And be objective about it. Because we've been mentally conditioned to look at everybody else. But this ain't about everybody else. This is just about us.
Indeed.
So
Indeed,
I don't know what his situation is. So, and I don't want you to tell it. I mean, unless, the only thing usually when we get into situations, there's always traffic issues. Because that's the big moneymaker for them.
Yeah, that's exactly how it started. And, to be completely honest with you, hearsay is inadmissible in court. I have no idea of the actual details of his situation. All I know is that I try to assist my brothers and sisters at any moment that I can, because I'm not supposed to forsake my brother or sister. I'm chapter 25, you know what I mean? So I'm going to assist you. How can I help you? So that's all I know. Now, as far as the situation is concerned, because his relatives, now I'm not talking about his family, because we're family, but his relatives, they don't want to have nothing to do with the situation, because to them it's Moorish mumbo jumbo. You know what I mean? To them, he shouldn't have broke the law and all of this stuff, and then he got some Masons in his bloodline and all of this. So it's a very tight situation where all he has is us, and I know he's a baby, so he's not somebody who's been in this very long. So I know he obviously is not studied enough, because if he was, he wouldn't have went up there and said that he was what he proclaimed not to be. You get what I'm saying? So now, in a couple of weeks, do I advise him, hey, you know, under threat, duress, and coercion, you didn't state your appellation for the record because you were afraid, because, you know, before he got called out, and you got to know, this young man, he's only 30 years old. He don't have no criminal record. He ain't never been arrested in his life. He ain't been in this type of situation. And right before they called him out, they called out another brother who ended up attacking somebody, and a whole bunch of deputies came and swarmed. So I'm pretty sure he was scared to death. You know what I mean? Just to be honest with you. So that happened in the way that it did. I'm just trying to figure out remedies for him, because I know that he's scared, and I mean, ain't nobody else trying to assist. And at the end of the day, we got to assist our brothers and sisters. Now, I know I can't study for him. And the first thing I'm going to tell him is, you need to study, because I can't get you out of this situation. You got to get yourself out of this situation, because you got to know who you are. You can't be saying you're a national, and then when the time comes, all of a sudden the L and the Bay is gone. You can't do that. You just can't. So, you know, I'm just trying to figure out, I mean, I get what you're saying as far as me learning my lesson. All I can do is just keep for the record that he wasn't who he first said he was. I mean, did he kind of pretty much screw himself, or is that something that we can try to, you know, like I said, TDC, he was afraid, so he didn't state his appellation for the record, and try to go that route with it for the next court, tribunal case?
Well, here's the thing. This is the thing. He, like you said, he's a young brother, all right? And he may, you know what, it takes time to recondition our minds and say what, you know, say the right thing. Not that what we're saying is wrong, because remember, this is all a lesson. This is all a lesson, all right? Now, what it means, and it will involve. So what this demonstrates, you know, because the universe is testing us all the time. And the ones that, you know, we have an individual lesson and we have a family lesson. And yes, I can tell you that I have been involved in family lessons where something happened to one, and we all collectively had enough information, but we failed the lesson because we started arguing and fighting with each other, and that was the lesson. See, these Albions, they know that we have a temper. They know that first thing we want to do is fight, and invariably we want to fight each other. We get into a situation, and instead they know how to push our buttons. Instead of we, you know, close ranks as a family, we invariably, you know, we start attacking each other within the family. So when we do things like that, we need to not, you know, continue the attacking. We need to, and somebody's gonna have to be the one to bring the peace. All right. So we need to recognize, okay, well, if this was a test, we failed miserably. We gotta regroup and do better, because nothing happens by accident. Everything happens for a reason. Indeed. Everything that happens is a lesson for all involved. So, it might be hard for us to sit back and see somebody go through something, but guess what? That is the lesson they prepared for themselves, even though it might be difficult for us to see and accept. We got to remember, you know, that there's a passage in the Bible. Now, when we read the story of Joshua, Joshua knew what he came here for. He knew what he came here for. But there's a part in his story where he gets down on his knees and he's like, oh my God, what have I gotten into? I don't think I can do this. I don't want to do this. I don't know why I'm doing this. Why am I doing this? I lost my train of thought. What is my reason for doing this? And by the daytime, he regrew. But we all do that. We all go through that. We all, there are times in all of our lives where we have such great clarity. We know exactly what we're supposed to do next. But then we lose that focus, and we're like, okay, what am I doing this again for? So I guess our lesson is to, whenever we feel like we're off track, to refocus. Refocus for ourselves and the family, because we have the individual and a family, lesson that we are all participating in. Because if we didn't, we wouldn't be here.
Indeed.
So what I would suggest is to, I don't. Is the brother? Is he being held hostage? Is he home? Is he? What's going on?
Oh no, what happened was when we first went in there, they had him at excessive bail. I mean, it was $100,000 bail. So the magistrate lowered it to $10,000, and we posted that the 10% today so that he could be released. Because that was all that we could do. His own family wouldn't help. So, I just, I had, talked to a few people and, made sure everything got taken care of. And we sent a couple of nationals to pick him up so that he wasn't picked up, or, no Ubers and none of that stuff. And, they just corresponded with me and let me know that it should only been another 30 minutes because they was processing him out. So he'll be home tonight. And then we meeting tomorrow. I told him to be at the Model Center tomorrow, and we need to meet because we got some things to talk about. So as of right now, that's it. So until his next court date, which is on the 7th, February 7th.
All righty. So what I'll do is well, no, I do nothing. Can I give you my email?
Maybe can I give you my email address?
No, you cannot. This is a public line, and you'll get everybody and anybody's emailing you.
We all family.
No, we ain't. Everybody that's listening on this broadcast is not family. So I have your number. I have your number.
Okay.
I'll send you an email to send I'll send you something.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Mother.
All righty.
It's fine.
All righty. All right. All right. Caller 719. Brother Bakari, Islam.
Islam. Honors to the panel. Sorry to hear about that previous caller, but there's a couple things that I want to, that I could say about that. But I wanted to talk about the. I wanted to talk about the caller before that, the young man.
The apartment? The apartment situation?
Yeah. And what I would just like to recommend a couple of things, and some of it you already touched on. I hope that the individual is still listening, and I hope that they take it seriously what I'm about to say. But I just want to, first of all, say that, I thought that you gave him outstanding advice. I'm not an expert in, I won't come off as trying to sound like an expert because I'm not. But what I would recommend is that individual, that brother, needs to check his emotions. Number one.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the major impressions, because when you, because I have a temper, and when I lose my temper, I'm not able to think clearly. And because of the point that you mentioned about the fact that, like, you don't want to get on the bad side, because there's a lot of things that can happen moving forward in the future. And if you're not in a position to just get up and leave and relocate, it can be very difficult for you. So he doesn't need to come off as an argumentative type person. Even though he was wrong, stay cool, put things in writing, send it certified mail. The next thing that I would strongly recommend that he does, if he hasn't already done, is take a picture of everything in the apartment, all the walls, all of the appliances, et cetera, et cetera. And I usually do that when I move into an apartment and when I leave, so that if they try to, say, well, we're not going to give you the full deposit upon exiting because this needs to be done, this needs to be done. Now you have visual proof. It's not just your word. And rest assured that regardless of how they treat you, many of these apartments, because I've had to deal with this before, will always try to not give you your deposit back. And if you don't have pictures, and if you have had some sort of difficulty with these people because they're not your family and they don't care about national principles, they only are concerned about making money, about making fiat. That's their primary concern.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would hope that the young man would take those things into consideration and keep all of this information in a nice file, all the pictures, all of the letters that he sent out, affidavits, et cetera, et cetera. And so I just wanted to share that. And I also would like to, be allowed, if I'm allowed, by you guys to address the situation with the young lady who called in. One of the things that I noticed is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but did she state that she didn't know what the case was about? I mean, like what I'm saying here is if she's acting on his behalf, and I don't want to upset her, I don't want to upset anyone, but if she's not aware of the details of the case prior to going in there, that's one thing. I hope that that's something that she can learn from, as you mentioned about learning about things. And then the second thing is, if this young man is new to this information and he is not aware of how to represent himself, what not to say, some of the basic things in terms of how they always try to, when I say they, these administrators and these corporate personnel who try to do whatever they can to obtain jurisdiction, then my next question would be is what type of preparation was involved? Was this young man involved in? And even being involved in preparation, for the reasons that you mentioned, you can still be, totally prepared. And let's say, just as an example, I'll just throw a number out there. Let's say that he spent 20 hours, to prepare in terms of studying, going over certain procedures, et cetera. That in and of itself doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be able to deal with the stresses, as you already mentioned. And so I just like to use a rule of thumb is that if you haven't put in some serious study and worked on some issues, then you don't need to be going in there faking the funk. Because he has to speak for himself. So, I've had, conversations with, folks on the telephone, and they don't call me back anymore, because they think that I'm being a butthole because I'm too serious, or it's not that serious and we don't need to do all this and yada, yada, yada. But they don't take it seriously enough. It's like okay, this is my nationality. I'm going to proclaim my nationality, and, the All-Creator is going to look out for me. And all I need to do is go in there and show them my identification card and wear my fez, and wear a decent suit, and, but, have you prepared? Like, have you done any reading? Like, have you prepared? Like, have you read your writ, or did somebody else write it for you? So those are some of the things that I just wanted to share. And hopefully the next time that the young man goes in front of these people, that, things will go a little bit better. But, once you navigate like that and you mess up the first time and you say that your appellation or that your name is the straw, the next time that you come back in there, like, you definitely don't want to make another mistake along those lines by saying that you're, by saying something else that's going to put you in another position, So he needs to be doubly concerned about that, and whoever's going to be assisting him, that when he goes back for another appearance, and the other thing is, did he send any kind of documentation preceding him? Did he sign? Chances are, if he stated that when he was asked, well, what's your name, and he stated his straw name, did he sign anything when he was there? Like, did he sign a plea agreement or, any other documentation, and what did he put on it? So if he made one mistake, chances are he's made more than one mistake. So those are some other things, to be looked into. And so somebody needs to sit down with him, or he needs to, be aware of that and go over everything that took place while he was there, and, go over that in their heads, and then come up with a strategy moving forward. But, I just wanted to quickly share those things, and hopefully that can assist someone. Islam,
all right. Well, thank you so much for that. All righty, well, there was one more caller, but they seem to have disappeared, and I don't know what happened to them. So that actually concludes our broadcast tonight. And so tomorrow there will be a class at the National Theater of Dooley Mosley Salib Bey. Going to be doing the class tomorrow. Doors open at 6:30 and class begins at 7:30. So make sure and check it out. If you're in the area, you can stop in and absorb information firsthand. If you're not able to attend, you can call in via this Blog Talk number, and you can listen. So with that, let's see. We shall see you back here next Tuesday for Principles of Nationality in Action. Same time, same back channel. Peace and love.
Our problem is lack of knowledge and the intended deceit and trickery done, because even those who read the bibliotheory text that you call the Bible says he shall fool even the most believe. So even those who think they're highly educated and this and that, they've been fooled. That's it. It's not really complicated.
It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows it to those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the day they call us Pharaoh. It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows except those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the dead, they call us pharaohs. The gods are back, the Moors are strapped. We waking up, and we want our land back. Running off, that's a trap. You know them guys don't like that. Waking up from a nap, like where the hell my crown at? Take a step back, like I know this bitch ain't bite back. It's kinda crazy how this karma it strikes back. We enslaved Islam, so they slaved us right back. We called them niggas, then they nigga this right back. We brought them to light, but they ain't bring that right back. If I was lazy, dirty dancing with the baby, then maybe, then just maybe won't revolt like Haiti. I too sort Lova, poor Marcus Garvey, your ass. No, but you are leading, God body the man. Now I ain't gotta be bad, and you ain't gotta be mad, but the planet is heating up, so the first I'll be last. I got that melanin that's better than anything you ever medicine. We at your front door, wonder why you never let us in. Oh, I get it, you never wanted to put some credits in. Well, just forget it, cause I don't know if you can edit sin. We've been enlightened long before Thomas Edison. Skeletons to prove that you wasn't even relevant. In the Caucasus Mountains, cause the sun was your deficit. Captain Caveman with the plan of the Jesuits. Check my bloodline, but in time I bring the evidence. Self-governing body, so I don't need no president. Democrat, Republican, donkey versus elephant. I studied in law, so I ain't down with none of that. I self-law in master, so I'm running that. This Molotov cocktail burns faster, so I like the match. Despite the fact that ain't even what I'm mad at. I spit the truth, so here's the roof, so you can yeah that. My skin is brown and here's the proof, but you ain't hearing that. Dead in the eyes of the law, that's why they call you black. Naming all caps when you fall, that's why I strike back. And strike that from the record ab initio. You gon' need more than some pressure, I got a vicious flow. I can take the road to the high, or I can hit them low. Try to calcify my third eye, oh you gon' have to go. Chemtrails all over the sky, and you don't wanna know. Don't go inside of my tribe, they coming no more.
If you believe that your history started on a slave boat, I can guarantee you that's where it ended too. That's what I'm saying. Then after saying that, and so believe me, go back and do some studies past the 1700s, and I'll guarantee you, sure as you're sitting there listening or wherever you are, watching, listening, you will find nothing but the word Moor, and that's another thing. Because we weren't called black. That description, maybe, black or more or whatever, but that's it. Know the difference between a description and an actual, person, place, or thing, noun. I mean, really.
It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows it, to those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the dead, they call us pharaoh. It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows except those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the dead, they call us pharaoh. From the pyramids to the project, the beginning is the part they want you to forget. Implant your memory with that noose around your neck. It's the King Alpha plan and it's set in full effect. The butler, the help, in 12 years a slave. Django and Selma, they get them accolades. They made a movie called Exodus about the gods and kings with an all-white cast from Egypt. Now that's the same. They ain't never seen no movie about no European slaves. We were traveling the seas when they was living in caves. We had to civilize them, show them how to behave. In fact, we brought them light and taught them how to bathe. This is trading places with stolen identity. We agreed to be educated by our own enemy. Reverse psychology, I'ma need a lobotomy. An exorcism just to get this shit about me. Roz Mariah, Anna Eve, Miss Raheem, Tariq, Cujo from Cannonland. Listen to them speak. I done learned from the best. I don't need no DNA test. The nations in my womb has given from the breast. The empire's back, so you know what's next. The Moors are waking up, now you must confess. Yes, yes. The Moors are waking up, now you must confess.
Birthright theft. The whole deal was, where's my land that, for them? The whole deal was like, this is really quote-unquote promised land. This is really the quote-unquote heart of civilization. This is really what you might call Northwest Africa. That's what, and I say that to people so they can stop saying I'm going back to Africa and understand that they're in it. It's the Garden of Eden.
That's what they had in Columbus's journal that they arrived
Absolutely.
in Eden.
So what has happened is absolute lies. That's right. And the land of milk and honey is another terminology. So these things are important because as you're doing studies, and if it says the land of milk and honey, you need to know they're talking about the North American continent. If you don't know that, then you miss it. And that's part of our problem. That part of our problem is the miseducation. We have been lied to, lied to, lied to, lied to, lied to.